I need to tell you what I did because I'm sitting here in our apartment right now. The place I share with the man I used to call my partner but who now just nods at me when we pass in the hallway. And I can't stop thinking that I'm the one who killed us. Everyone who knows our situation thinks Marcus just shut down for no reason, that he's emotionally unavailable or stonewalling me. But the truth is I'm the one who built the wall between us brick by brick. And I did it with a single sentence I can never take back. The worst part isn't that I said it. The worst part is I meant it when I said it, and somewhere deep inside, a terrible part of me still believes I was right even though I can see exactly what it cost me. I've never admitted that to anyone, not to my therapist, not to my sister, not even fully to myself until right now. If I don't tell this story the right way, you'll think Marcus is just another emotionally stunted man who can't handle vulnerability. But once you know what I know, once you understand the specific fear that made me say what I said, you'll see why I felt cornered into destroying the best relationship I've ever had. You might still think I'm terrible. You're probably right. But at least you'll understand. I'm going to tell you everything, including the moment 3 months ago when I stood in our bedroom doorway and watched him cry over something I thought was ridiculous. And instead of comforting him, I said the 5 words that would end us. And the part that makes me look worst, the part about why his crying scared me so badly, I'm saving that for later because you need to understand how we got there first. Marcus and I met 4 years ago at a friend's barbecue. He was the guy flipping burgers, making sure everyone had drinks, checking if anyone had dietary restrictions. I remember thinking he was probably gay because straight men didn't usually care that much about hosting duties. My friend Lauren corrected me quickly. That's Marcus, he's annoyingly thoughtful, also very single and very straight. I watched him all afternoon. He laughed easily, asked follow-up questions when people talked, remembered details. When my beer was empty, a new one appeared. When I mentioned I was vegetarian, he made sure to point out which dishes were safe. It wasn't flirting exactly. It was just attention, real attention, the kind I'd convinced myself didn't exist anymore. We started talking about nothing, really. The heat, the traffic getting here, then somehow we were discussing our families, our jobs, the books we were reading. 3 hours disappeared. When the party ended, he asked for my number with this nervous energy that I found completely charming. No games. No waiting 3 days to text. He messaged me that night saying he'd really enjoyed talking to me. Our first date lasted 9 hours. Lunch turned into a walk, turned into coffee, turned into dinner, turned into drinks. He told me about growing up in a big Italian family, how his mom still called him every Sunday, how his dad taught him to cook. He asked about my childhood, my career in marketing, my goals. He listened like my answers actually mattered. I fell for him because he was safe. That sounds terrible, but it's true. After a string of guys who were emotionally unavailable or commitment phobic or just assholes hiding behind therapy speak, Marcus was stable. Solid. He said what he meant. He followed through. When he said he'd call, he called. When he said he wanted something serious, he meant it. We moved in together after 18 months. It felt natural, easy. We fell into routines. He cooked, I cleaned. We alternated choosing movies. Friday nights were date nights. Sunday mornings were farmer's market and lazy breakfast. We had our own hobbies but shared enough interests that we never ran out of things to do together. My friends were jealous. My sister kept asking when he'd propose. My mom loved him more than she loved me, I think. He was the guy everyone said I was lucky to have, and I knew it. I felt lucky. But there were these moments, even early on, where something in me would recoil. Small things. He teared up during a Pixar movie once, and I felt this flash of disgust I couldn't explain. He got choked up telling a story about his grandfather, and I changed the subject. When his childhood dog died and he cried on the phone with his mom, I left the room. I told myself everyone has quirks, things that irrationally bother them about their partners. My sister's husband chews too loudly. My friend Emma hates when her boyfriend uses certain words. This was just my thing. Marcus was a little too emotional sometimes. So what? It didn't mean anything. The first time he really opened up about something difficult was about 2 years in. His best friend from college, Jake, was going through a bad divorce. Marcus was torn up about it, worried about Jake, questioning his own views on marriage. He wanted to talk about it, process it with me. We were in bed. He was lying on his back, staring at the ceiling, talking about how he'd always thought Jake and his wife were solid, how it scared him that you could be with someone for 8 years and still end up strangers. His voice was tight. I could tell he was trying not to cry. Why are you getting so worked up about this? I asked. It's not your marriage. He turned to look at me. Jake's my best friend. I'm allowed to have feelings about it. I'm not saying you can't have feelings. I'm just saying maybe you're being a little dramatic. People get divorced. It happens. He was quiet for a long time. Then he just said, yeah, you're right, and rolled over. I felt relieved. Crisis averted. I didn't want to spend the night talking about someone else's failed marriage. I had work in the morning. Looking back, that was the first crack. I just didn't see it. Things were good for a while after that, or I thought they were good. Marcus seemed fine. We did our routines, had our date nights, went to bed happy. But I realized now he'd started editing himself around me. He still talked, but only about surface things. Work, errands, what to have for dinner. The deeper conversations got quieter. I didn't notice because honestly I preferred it. Life felt easier when we weren't diving into heavy emotional territory all the time. I had enough stress at work. When I came home, I wanted peace, not processing. My job in marketing was getting more demanding. We'd taken on a huge client and I was leading the campaign. Long hours, demanding deadlines, a boss who sent emails at 11 p.m. expecting responses. I was stretched thin and short-tempered. Marcus gave me space, made dinners I barely touched, didn't complain when I brought my laptop to bed. You're so understanding, I'd say, kissing his cheek while staring at my screen. Of course, he'd say, this is important to you. I thought I had the perfect partner, someone who didn't add to my stress, who just made life easier. Then his dad had a heart attack. It was a Friday night. We were watching TV when Marcus's mom called. I watched his face change, watched him go pale, heard him say, "We're coming right now," and grab his keys. The drive to the hospital was 90 minutes. Marcus gripped the steering wheel, jaw tight, breathing shallow. I kept saying his dad would be fine, that heart attacks were survivable, that we'd get there and everything would be okay. "Can you just not talk for a minute?" he finally said. I shut up, feeling stung. I was trying to help. His dad survived, made a full recovery actually. But that weekend at the hospital I saw a side of Marcus I didn't know how to handle. He was scared, vulnerable. He cried with his mom in the waiting room. He held his dad's hand and his voice broke when he said, "I love you, Dad." I stood in the corner of the hospital room feeling like an intruder. This raw emotion everywhere, people falling apart and putting themselves back together, and I just felt numb, awkward, like I didn't speak the language everyone else was fluent in. On the drive home Sunday night, Marcus was quiet. Finally he said, "Thank you for being there this weekend." "Of course," I said. "Where else would I be?" "I know hospitals aren't your thing, all the emotion and stuff. I know it's uncomfortable for you." "It's not that," I lied. "I just wanted to give you space with your family." He nodded but didn't say anything else. That night in bed he tried to talk about it. About how scared he'd been, how it made him think about mortality, about his parents getting older, about all the things he wanted to say to them while he still could. I listened for maybe 5 minutes before I felt that familiar claustrophobia rising in my chest, that trapped feeling like the walls were closing in. "Everyone's okay now though," I said, cutting him off mid-sentence. "That's what matters, right?" He stopped talking, just rolled over and went asleep. The pattern continued. Marcus would start to share something real and I'd shut it down, not obviously. I got good at subtle redirections, changing the subject, offering solutions instead of listening. Reminding him to look on the bright side, anything to avoid sitting in discomfort with him. He shared less and less. Our conversations got shallower and shallower. But we still had sex regularly, still did date nights, still functioned as a couple. I thought we were fine, just settling into a mature relationship where we didn't need to process every feeling together. My friend Rachel got engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. The wedding planning consumed her, and our weekly brunches became venue debates and color scheme discussions. I didn't mind. It was easier than talking about anything real. But one Sunday she put down her phone and said, "Okay, enough about me. How are you and Marcus?" "Good," I said automatically. "Same as always." "You guys never fight?" "Not really, we're pretty compatible." She gave me this look. "That's either really healthy or really concerning." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just that every couple fights sometimes. If you're not fighting, maybe you're not being honest with each other." I laughed it off. Not everyone needs drama, Ratch, but her words stuck with me. Were we being honest with each other? Was Marcus being honest with me? I started paying more attention. Marcus was always pleasant, always agreeable. When I asked where he wanted to eat, he said he didn't care. When I asked what movie to watch, whatever I wanted was fine. When I asked how his day was, it was always fine or good. I tried to dig deeper. "How's that thing with your boss you were worried about?" "Oh, it worked out." "And your mom's knee surgery?" "She's recovering well." "Are you worried about anything, like in general?" He looked at me strangely. "No, why? You just seem quiet lately." "I'm fine, babe, just tired." I felt like I was talking to a polite stranger. But when I tried to examine why that bothered me, I came up empty. Wasn't this what I wanted? No heavy conversations, no emotional dumping? Things shifted the night of Rachel's bachelorette party. I came home drunk at 2 a.m., makeup smeared, heels in my hand. Marcus was on the couch reading. "You waited up," I slurred, feeling a rush of affection. "Wanted to make sure you got home okay," he said, helping me to the bedroom. He brought me water and Advil, helped me out of my dress, put me to bed. As I was falling asleep, I mumbled, "I love you so much. You're the best person I know." "Love you too," he said quietly. The next morning, hungover and queasy, I found him making breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh coffee, my favorite hangover meal. "You're too good to me," I said, kissing his shoulder. "It's just breakfast," he said. Something in his tone made me look at him, really look at him. He was smiling, but his eyes were sad. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine. You seem off. Just didn't sleep well." I wanted to push, but my head was pounding and I had work in a few hours. "Okay, well, let me know if you want to talk." "Sure," he said in a tone that meant he definitely wouldn't. I told myself I'd check in with him later. I never did. Work exploded. The big campaign launched and immediately had problems. Technical issues, client complaints, media coverage that wasn't what we'd hoped for. I was at the office until midnight most nights, fielding angry calls and putting out fires. Marcus was supportive. He'd text to ask if I'd eaten. He'd leave dinner in the fridge. When I came home wrecked, he'd rub my shoulders and tell me I was doing great. But we barely talked, really talked. We existed in the same space but lived separate lives. The campaign finally stabilized. My boss praised my crisis management. The client renewed for another year. I'd survived. I came home that Friday with champagne and takeout from Marcus's favorite restaurant, ready to celebrate. Ready to finally reconnect. He was on the couch, same as always, but something was different. He was just staring at the wall. Hey, I said, I brought dinner and champagne. The campaign got renewed. That's great, he said flatly. Congrats. I sat down next to him. What's wrong? Nothing. Marcus, come on, you're clearly upset about something. He laughed, but it was bitter. Am I? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, sorry, I'm glad about your campaign. That's really good news. We ate in silence. The champagne went untouched. I kept trying to start conversation, but everything died after one-word answers. That night in bed, I tried to initiate sex. He said he was tired. We haven't had sex in 3 weeks, I said. Has it been that long? You haven't noticed. I've been giving you space. You've been stressed. I'm not stressed anymore. The campaign's done. Okay, so what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Then why won't you touch me? He sighed. I'm just tired, okay. Can we not make it a thing? I rolled over, hurt and confused. This wasn't like him. Marcus loved physical affection. Something was definitely wrong and he wouldn't tell me what. The next few weeks were tense. We were polite but distant. Roommates who occasionally ate meals together. I kept waiting for him to tell me what was bothering him, but he stayed surface-level pleasant. Finally, I cornered him. Sunday morning, farmer's market canceled because of rain. Nowhere for either of us to hide. We need to talk, I said. About what? About whatever's going on with you. You've been weird for weeks. I haven't been weird. Yes, you have. You're distant. We never talk anymore. We're not having sex. Something's wrong and you won't tell me what. He stared at his coffee. I didn't think you wanted to know. What? Of course I want to know. We're partners. Are we? The question hit me like a slap. What kind of question is that? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time I told you something that was actually bothering me? I don't know. You tell me. You're the one who stopped sharing. Because every time I try, you shut me down. That's not true. It is true. Anytime I want to talk about something real, you change the subject or tell me to look on the bright side or give me solutions I didn't ask for. You don't want to hear it. I felt defensive, anger rising. That's not fair. I've always been supportive. You're supportive when it's easy. When I'm doing well or when there's a concrete problem to solve. But when I'm just struggling with something, when I just need someone to listen, you can't handle it. So what you're saying, I'm a bad girlfriend? I'm saying I don't feel like I can be myself with you. The words hung between us. I wanted to argue, but something in his face stopped me. He looked exhausted, like he'd been carrying this for a long time. Why didn't you say something sooner? I asked quietly. I tried. You didn't want to hear it. So what do you want from me? I don't know, I just feel really alone right now. Alone? I'm right here. Physically, yeah. I didn't know what to say to that. We sat in silence for a while, then Marcus got up and said he was going for a run. He was gone for 2 hours. When he came back, we didn't talk about it. We just went back to our separate corners of the apartment. I called my sister that night, venting about the conversation. He says I don't listen, but I'm always there for him. I don't know what else he wants. Have you asked him? She said. He was being vague, all this stuff about feeling alone and not being himself. Maybe he needs you to just listen without trying to fix things. I do listen. But do you really? Or are you just waiting for him to stop talking so you can make it better? I got off the phone annoyed. Everyone was acting like I was doing something wrong when I was just trying to be helpful. But her words nagged at me. I started thinking about all the conversations Marcus had tried to have, all the times I'd redirected or minimized. Maybe I had been shutting him down, but what was I supposed to do, just sit there while he spiraled? The next incident happened 2 weeks later. Marcus's coworker, someone he'd worked with for 5 years, died suddenly. Aneurysm. He was only 34. Marcus came home that day pale and shaken. Dan died, he said. Oh my God, what happened? He told me. I said all the right things, how terrible, how shocking, how sorry I was. The funeral's Friday, he said. Will you come with me? Of course. The funeral was brutal. Dan's wife sobbing, his parents devastated, colleagues giving speeches about his potential, all the things he'd never get to do. Marcus sat rigid beside me, jaw clenched. In the car afterward, he was quiet. I grabbed his hand. You okay? Not really. It was a beautiful service. He was 34. Marcus's voice cracked. He had a wife and a 1-year-old daughter. He was just living his life and then he was gone. I know, it's awful. It makes you think, about how much time we waste, how we don't say the things we should say. I squeezed his hand, not sure what to say. I've been thinking a lot lately, he continued. About us, about whether I'm living the life I want to live. Something cold settled in my stomach. What do you mean? I mean I feel like I'm not really here. Like I'm going through the motions but not actually present in my own life. Because of Dan? No, this has been building. Dan just made it clearer. We drove in silence. When we got home, I expected him to want space, but instead he followed me to the bedroom. Can we talk? He asked. Sure. We sat on the bed. He took a deep breath. I haven't been happy for a while. The words punched through me. What? I love you. I want to be clear about that, but I don't feel like you know me anymore. Or want to know me? That's not true. When's the last time I told you something I was scared of or struggling with? I tried to think, came up blank. Exactly, he said. I stopped telling you because I learned it wasn't safe. Safe, I would never hurt you. Not physically, but emotionally you shut me down every time, so I stopped trying. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I know, but it's how I feel. He was right on the edge of crying. I could see it. His eyes were wet, his voice unsteady. And I felt it again, that recoil, that disgust, this grown man about to cry over feelings. What do you want me to do? I asked, hearing the edge in my voice. I want you to let me be human. I want to be able to tell you when I'm struggling without you trying to fix it or minimize it or change the subject. I'm not trying to minimize anything. I'm trying to help you not spiral. I'm not spiraling. I'm having feelings. That's normal. Okay, so have your feelings. I'm not stopping you. But you are. Every time I start to open up, you pull away. I can feel it. He was right. I did pull away, but the alternative was sitting in this uncomfortable emotional soup and I couldn't do it. Maybe I'm just not good at this stuff, I said. I'm not as emotional as you. I'm not asking you to be emotional. I'm asking you to let me be emotional without punishing me for it. I'm not punishing you. Then what do you call it when I try to be vulnerable and you leave the room, or change the subject, or tell me I'm being dramatic? I never said you were dramatic. You've said it in a dozen different ways. We were both getting heated now. This was our first real fight in months and it felt like a dam breaking. So what? I'm just supposed to sit there while you process every single feeling? Some of us have to function, Marcus. Some of us can't just fall apart every time something hard happens. I'm not falling apart, I'm being human. Well, maybe I need a partner who's a little more resilient. The words came out before I could stop them. Marcus looked like I'd slapped him. Resilient, he repeated. I didn't mean it like that. No, I think you did. He stood up. I think that's exactly what you meant. He left the room. I heard the front door close. He was gone for hours. I sat on the bed feeling sick. I'd said something I couldn't take back, but underneath the guilt was something else. Relief. I'd finally said what I'd been thinking for years. Marcus came back late, slept on the couch. The next morning he was gone before I woke up. We didn't talk about the fight. We just went back to being polite strangers, but now with a new layer of tension. This went on for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of careful politeness. 3 weeks of sleeping in the same bed but staying on opposite sides. 3 weeks of how was your day and what do you want for dinner and nothing else. I told myself we'd get past it. Couples fight. This was just a rough patch. Then came the night that ended us. I got home from work to find Marcus on the couch crying, not a few tears, actually crying, his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. What happened? I asked, alarmed. Is someone hurt? Is it your dad? He shook his head, unable to speak. I sat down next to him. Marcus, you're scaring me. What's wrong? He finally looked up, face blotchy and wet. I got passed over for the promotion. I waited for more. There had to be more. Someone died. He got fired. Something catastrophic. The promotion, I repeated. He nodded, wiping his face. They gave it to Jennifer. After everything I put into that project, all the hours, the weekends, they gave it to someone who's been there half as long. I felt my whole body tense. This was why he was falling apart, a promotion. That sucks, I said carefully. I'm sorry. I just feel so stupid, he said, voice breaking again. I really thought I had it. I thought all that work meant something. He put his face back in his hands. His whole body was shaking, and I snapped. I've been holding it in for so long. All the times he'd cried over movies, over his friend's divorce, over his dad's heart attack, over his coworker dying. All the times I'd bit my tongue and tried to be understanding. All the times I'd felt that disgust and pushed it down. I couldn't push it down anymore. Real men don't cry, I said. The words came out cold, cutting, exactly as I meant them. Marcus froze. Slowly he lifted his head and looked at me. What did you say? You heard me. Say it again. Real men don't cry over a promotion they didn't get. They dust themselves off and try harder next time. They don't fall apart like this. I watched something die in his eyes. It was instant and final. He stood up, walked to the bedroom, came back with a pillow and blanket. I'll sleep on the couch, he said quietly. Marcus, don't. That was 3 months ago. He's slept on the couch every night since. We don't talk beyond logistics. He's never cried in front of me again. He's never shared anything real again. We're roommates who used to be in love. I keep waiting for him to move out, but he hasn't. I keep waiting to feel relieved, but I just feel hollow. My sister asked me last week how things were going. I lied and said fine. Then I went home to an empty apartment because Marcus was out somewhere with friends, probably living a life I'm not part of anymore. I thought his crying made him weak, but I'm starting to realize it was the only thing keeping us connected. His willingness to be vulnerable, to need me, to let me see him struggling. That was intimacy. That was love, and I crushed it because it made me uncomfortable. I haven't told anyone the full story because I'm ashamed. Everyone thinks Marcus is being cold or that we just grew apart. No one knows I'm the one who killed us with 5 words. The thing I've never admitted to anyone, the thing that makes me worst in all of this. I said it because watching him cry reminded me of my dad. My dad who cried after he lost his job when I was 12. My dad who cried when he and my mom fought. My dad who cried when he drank too much and got maudlin about his regrets. My dad who was always falling apart and making it everyone else's job to put him back together. My mom became his emotional caretaker. She managed his moods, walked on eggshells, sacrificed her own needs to keep him stable. She was exhausted all the time, resentful, trapped. I watched her disappear into his needs, and I promised myself I'd never let that happen to me. So when Marcus cried, I didn't see a man being vulnerable. I saw my dad. I saw my mom's exhausted face. I saw a future where I was responsible for managing someone else's emotions forever. I convinced myself Marcus was too emotional, that he needed to toughen up, that his constant need for emotional connection was weakness. But Marcus wasn't my dad. Marcus had a job, responsibilities, a life. He wasn't falling apart. He was just being human. Sharing his feelings with someone he loved, trusting me with his vulnerability, and I took that trust and destroyed it because I was too damaged to see the difference. I've started therapy. My therapist says I have avoidant attachment, that I associate emotional intimacy with danger because of my dad. She says I can work on it, but it takes time. I don't think I have time. Marcus is polite but distant. He's not mean, not angry. He's just gone. The person he was with me doesn't exist anymore. Last week I saw him on the couch looking at apartments online. He didn't know I noticed. He hasn't said anything about moving out, but it's coming. Part of me wants to beg him to stay, to tell him I understand now, that I'm sorry, that I'll do better. But another part of me knows I don't deserve another chance. I had 4 years of chances. 4 years of him trying to be himself with me and me shutting him down until he stopped trying. I broke the person I loved by demanding he be less human. And now I get to live with that. The worst part is I still catch myself thinking I was right sometimes. When I'm stressed or tired, that old voice whispers that Marcus was too much, too emotional, too needy, that I was justified. Then I look around our silent apartment at this man who used to laugh with me and share his day and hold me close, who now treats me like a stranger, and I know I wasn't right. I was just scared. I ruined us because I was too broken to let myself be loved by someone whole. I'm telling this story now because yesterday Marcus came home and said, "I need to tell you something." My heart stopped. This was it. He was moving out. It was over officially, but instead he said, "I've been seeing a therapist, working through some stuff." That's good, I managed. She asked me what I wanted, like really wanted, and I realized I still don't know. Okay, I know I can't keep living like this. This limbo, it's killing me. I know, but I also know I'm not ready to give up completely, not yet. I didn't dare hope. What does that mean? It means I need to know if you're willing to actually try, not just say you'll try, actually do the work. I'm in therapy too. He looks surprised. You are? For 2 months now, working on why I shut down when people need me. We stood there in the kitchen, the most we talked in months, and something small flickered between us. Not love exactly, more like recognition, 2 broken people who broke each other, seeing each other clearly for the first time. I don't know if we can fix this, he said quietly. I don't either. But maybe we could try. I'd like that, he nodded. Okay, let's try. That was yesterday. Tonight he's still on the couch. We haven't magically fixed everything with one conversation. But for the first time in 3 months, when he said goodnight, his voice was soft instead of flat. I don't know if we'll make it. I don't know if I can unlearn 30 years of associating emotional intimacy with danger. I don't know if Marcus can trust me again after I violated his vulnerability so completely. But I know I'm going to try, really try, because losing him showed me that being alone is worse than being uncomfortable, that protecting myself from feeling too much just meant feeling nothing at all. I told him real men don't cry, and he stopped sharing anything. Now we're just roommates. But maybe if I can learn to sit in discomfort, to let someone need me without resenting them for it, to see vulnerability as strength instead of weakness, we could be something more again. Or maybe it's too late. Maybe some things you say can't be unsaid, some damage can't be repaired. Either way, I had to tell someone the truth. I'm the villain in this story, not because I'm evil, but because I was too scared to let someone love me the way I needed to be loved. And now I have to live with that, whether he stays or goes.